Well, hello, and welcome back to Streets and Eats. This is episode 85, and you know what? We always have that question, where are we going to travel during the winter? Do we want someplace cold, or do we want someplace warm? Well, Jim and I came up with lots and lots of ideas, so this week we're going to talk about where we should go to feel like winter is winter. It's got snow, it's got cold, it's got bundling up, and then next week, hey, we'll do the opposite. We'll do what's warm. But for this week, let's find out where to go where you want to wear your scarf, your hats, and your mittens.
Welcome to Streets and Eats, the travel and food podcast dedicated to taking our listeners to the sights, sounds, and flavors of fascinating places near and far, both on and off the beaten path. We're Jim and Corinne Vale, and we've been traveling internationally and domestically together for decades, visiting more than 90 countries in all 50 states in the USA. We'll share all of the local knowledge and food expertise we've gathered through years of living as expats in Asia and Europe, as well as traveling with families spanning multiple generations around the world. Join us each week for a new adventure. Okay, so keeping with the theme of winter breaks and hot or cold, the trivia question this week is kind of related.
Kind of.
I think it's extremely related.
Oh, okay. Is that a hint?
So here you go. This is I think, a straightforward science question or maybe a geography
science,
question.
That's not fair. Okay, go.
You'll get it. Which countries have summer and winter solstices at the same time?
Which countries have summer and winter solstices at the same time? Summer and winter solstices? How can you have a summer and winter solstice at the same time?
That's the question for you.
I guess it would have to be on the equator. So whatever's on the equator.
Can you name any?
Sure.
That's the geography part of the question.
Let's think. Equator. Let's go with... Actually, can I?
Can you? There's 13
Okay, well,
of them.
we know Uganda is on the equator because you know what?
We've crossed that equator.
Done that. We've also been somewhere else. So Quito, Ecuador, which we have not been to, but I know that. Where else is the equator? Well, I don't know. I mean, it's not someplace I head to as a general rule, but anywhere next to Uganda and next to Ecuador. Close to Ecuador and close to Uganda. I think I've got it.
You got 2 of the 13. That's not bad.
2 of the 13. Hey.
Colombia, Brazil, Sao Tome and Principe, Gabon, Republic of the Congo. I thought you would get that one for sure.
Yeah, I should have.
And the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Kenya, Somalia, Maldives, Indonesia, which we've also been to. And I think we may have crossed that equator. I'm not sure if we have.
I'm not sure either, but yeah, we haven't done anything.
And Kiribati.
And Kiribati. You don't know,
you
say it with the S. Kiribati.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's Kiribati.
I have not been, so I don't know for sure.
We have not been.
I'll take your word for it,
apparently
though.
It's pretty hard to get there. But, sometimes when some place is so hard to get to, it just makes you want to go that much more. So Kiribati is definitely on my list.
Right.
Even though I'm not really a beachy kind of islandy. Well, I like islands, but not necessarily beaches, but not necessarily heat. So in some ways it calls me. In other ways, it's like, why the hell would you want to go there?
Well, I'm pretty good with geography and I can't place it. I just pulled the list.
It's in the middle of the Pacific.
Oh, okay. Like Micronesia or
it's in
even
the middle.
more middle?
Yeah, I don't know exactly where because
on the equator,
the Pacific
obviously.
is a huge ocean. And just in case you were wondering about that.
So now I just kind of pulled this question out of
thin air,
so to speak.
But it's a good one, actually.
Thinking if a country...
So do I get it? 2 out of 13. That's actually a fail, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty much a fail. I mean, you should have known Colombia is right next door to Ecuador.
And Brazil. Yeah, I should have.
Now, some of the smaller ones, maybe not, but yeah.
Anyway, you were saying.
Okay, so summer and winter solstice at the same time. Since they're on the equator, they don't really have varying degrees of weather. But
or
technically,
time either, because basically
it's
like 12 and 12 and 12 and 12. So, I don't know if you can, I don't know. Yeah.
But I think that's interesting that on the equator.
Oh, you know what I did know about Indonesia and Malaysia and Singapore? Singapore should be on that list.
No, Singapore's
because
not on the equator.
Singapore only changes 4 degrees in temperature all year long.
Well, it's close to the equator, but it doesn't straddle the equator.
I see. We're only talking about straddling.
Yes. We have straddled the equator ourselves.
We have straddled
In fact, on one of our winter vacations.
All righty.
But not to a snow place.
So for me though, I mean, I do like to get out when it's been dreary and cold, but usually that doesn't hit me in December, to be honest. Usually for me, in order to go somewhere warm, it's got to be a little bit later in winter. Like I am totally sick of gray skies and dreariness and drizzle. And we haven't lived in a lot of places with snow, but if there's snow, it makes it that much better. But what I really, really love is going to a place that's cold and it feels like winter, because I love winter. I don't need a lot of it necessarily, but I really like to ski and to, sled and to have fires and just
get out and play in the snow.
Yeah, I do love that. Now, shoveling snow every day, maybe I don't need to do that, but
no.
I do like to take a winter vacation. So I've come up with 5. You've come up with
my 5.
And we're going to go backwards and we're going to see if there's any overlap and decide whether or not these would be, what are together our top 5 winter vacations where you feel like you're experiencing winter. So you go first. What's your number 5?
My number 5 is Alaska.
Oh my goodness. I have Alaska on my list too, but it's much higher up. Probably for a lot of the reasons that you have or are going to mention. It's my number 3.
Oh, wow.
But why would you go to Alaska? Let's see if I have more than you.
Maybe it would be higher for me, but it is very, very cold.
I like cold.
And I like cold, but I mean, it is extreme. However, there are some very warm, hot things happening in Anchorage, Alaska in the wintertime, especially in February when they have the Fur Rendezvous Winter Festival and the start of the Iditarod, and everybody comes to town and it's this huge party and there's events and of course games and snowballs and all that fun stuff. And it's just really crazy. And there's nothing like it anywhere else on earth.
And I'm going to say that's why I had it higher on my list, because if you want to experience winter, then Alaska is going to serve up winter in spades, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, like you said, Fur Rendezvous is the first thing on my list because Fur Rendezvous is one of the most fun carnivals I've ever been to in my entire life. And it's got the funnest things, like you have races with outhouses over ice. Yeah. You have bowling on ice. You have just all these crazy little things that you can't do anywhere else. They have a heavyweight pulling contest with big dogs. They have dog sledding. And of course, Alaska is one of the few places in the United States that you can pretty much be assured that you're going to see the Northern Lights. And I'm here to tell you, there is nothing more magical than the Northern Lights.
That's for sure.
So, and I agree. And the other good thing about February in Alaska is, like you said, the last 2 weeks is for Rendezvous, and then the very last weekend, they start the Iditarod. It's not really the official start of it's, what do you call that? The celebratory.
Yeah.
What do you call that? Anyway, they start the Iditarod right before they head up to where they're really going to start it and start the race. And that's just cool because you get to see all the famous mushers. Yep. There are such things as famous mushers.
There really are. Celebrity mushers.
Yeah. And the other thing is there are other places to go. I mean, you can go to Anchorage and do everything. So you can just fly in and fly out. Or you can go up to other places like Fairbanks where they have Chena Hot Springs. And there you can get in the hot springs and see the Northern Lights. I mean, that's pretty damn cool.
Well, and you're right. If you get a clear sky at all in February, if you stay up late enough, you're going to see the Northern Lights. That's just all there is to it. It's almost a guarantee.
So Alaska was my number 3. So now you already know what my number 3 is. I don't know how it could be your number 5. I'm going to argue that one.
I have a lot of really good stuff, but
I guess. All right. My number 5. It might be surprising because when you think of this country, you think of winter, probably. Switzerland.
I guess that's not really much of a surprise. For a winter getaway?
No, I know that you might think of it as winter getaway, but not necessarily my 5th choice. But it is my 5th choice. But I mean, it's everything you think of when you think of winter. It's got Swiss chalets, and it's got skiing, and it's got the après ski, which, cocktails in front of a roaring fire. Who doesn't want that?
Right.
And then it's got really cool places to go that have Santa themes if you want to go before Christmas. There's, of course, some Christmas markets. There's train rides that you can see these beautiful, beautiful vistas in the snow, which, you just can't beat that. There's a UNESCO recognized train, the Ration Bahn. And let me tell you what's fun about the Ration Bahn. You take that baby up to the Breguin sled ride, which is over 6 kilometers long, and you can get up to, we got up to 40 kilometers per hour.
Right. They have a speed clock on the side of the trail. They have a
speed clock, and we got up to 40, and I was like, but apparently people get faster than that.
We're kind of wimpy, so
yeah, I suppose
when it comes to that kind of stuff.
But that was, I think that was one of the most fun winter things I've ever done my entire life, because you're all dressed up, you've got your sled, and you just sled and go and go and go and go. So much fun.
That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that one.
That was a blast. But so, and then of course, the ultimate winter food. There's nothing better in the winter than fondue. I love cheese. Fondue.
Or raclette.
Anything to do with hot cheese, raclette. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So Switzerland was on my list.
Yeah, Switzerland rates pretty high for me too, but none of my locations are in Switzerland.
Oh my goodness. I might have to fight for that though.
I did think of the Bergen sled run, and it was definitely close to the list. But
seriously, that's one of the most fun things I've ever done in the winter, and I can't wait to do it again.
Okay. Should we move on?
Yeah, number 4.
So our number 5s are taken care of. Mine was Anchorage, Alaska, and yours was Switzerland. Okay, my number 4 is in Japan. Did Japan make your list? Again, you may or may not think of Japan for a winter destination, for a winter snow destination, but there is some amazing skiing in Japan, all through the north. There's ice festivals, snow festivals. They really do winter right. My favorite, however, is Matsumoto. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site castle. It's a beautiful old wooden Japanese castle, and it's a castle town, and it still holds a lot of that historical charm. There's wonderful art museums there. In the wintertime, they hold their annual ice sculpture competition, and they bring teams in from around the world. And over the course of one weekend, they make the most incredible ice sculptures right there
at the base of the castle.
At the base of the castle on the castle grounds.
And they're lit up at night with all these colorful lights. It's just beautiful. Japan is on my list. Up much higher again. I can't imagine what you have at the top of your list, because my number 2 is Japan.
Wow.
Because,
well, don't tell me which part of Japan until we get there, and we'll let you save it. Unless it's Matsumoto and the ice fest.
Well,
ice
of course, that's part of it. We might as well just talk about it now so we can keep talking about it. Like you said, the skiing is amazing, and they have skiing almost all over the country. Of course, in the Hokkaido, Sapporo area, there's tons of skiing. And then there's skiing in Honshu. We used to go skiing every weekend in Honshu because it's that amazing. And one thing that's beautiful about skiing in Japan is the weather. The temperatures aren't that cold. They're like 30 degrees, 32 degrees, just enough to give you lots of snow, and you're still not freezing to death outside. And then after you spend all day skiing or sledding or hiking or snowshoeing, you can go into public onsen bath, the public bath, where the steam is just coming off. You go outside. One time we had a snowball fight between the men's side and the women's side.
Which probably wasn't that cool, but
it was just us. Who cares? And there's just so many really cool things. But the number one thing for me, even though I love the Matsumoto ice sculpture competition, so I'm glad you mentioned it, but the number one thing, the absolute number one thing
has to be the snow monkeys.
Is the snow monkeys going to, that's right, going from Nagano to Udanaka Station, and then hiking, taking a little bus and hiking into Jigo-Kudani. I'm not sure how you spell it. Jigo-Kudani Snow Park. And here's the cool thing about that. I mean, you can go any time of the year and you can see them, and you can do this trip anytime. But during the winter, it's just, there's just something really cool about the steam coming up from the hot bath and then seeing these monkeys with their red faces sitting in the hot tub, just like humans would be. And you and I did something super special with a couple friend of ours, that we stayed in the ryokan right there right there.
Right there in the snow
basically
park.
feet,
Yes.
100 feet, 200 feet from the hot spring itself. And we had monkeys all over
Oh, they were sleeping on the eaves outside our window at night, all huddled up as it was snowing, like to beat the band.
And where they usually bathe, you can't go in there. It's not for humans.
Probably wouldn't really want to.
But there is a human one at the Ryokan. And guess who was in there with me?
Mm-hmm.
The monkeys. So, I mean, how many people can say they took a bath with a real life monkey? Me. I can do that.
And that's a pretty good one because it's a co-ed outdoor bath, which isn't usually the case. But there it is. And so, yeah, we're sitting in the tub and along comes a mama and her baby. And they just kind of looked at us like, you mind if we sit over here?
Right.
And we just looked at them and said, sure. And in they came.
And the other thing about Japan is they have really good winter food too, because a lot of their food is very broth based and soup based. But when you go skiing, you can't live without having the curry noodles, the curry udon, which is Japanese curry and udon noodles, which is
love it.
Amazing. And then, of course, ramen and all that stuff. Everything just tastes so much better when it's so cold out. I just love it.
I agree.
So anyway, that was my number 2. So now you know my number 2 and my number 3. Did I ever tell you what my number 5 was? Yeah,
you told me your number 5, but what was your number 4?
You want me to tell you my number 4?
Yeah,
you haven't
mine's
told me.
Japan. That's what got us started on Japan.
My number 4 was Norway.
Okay.
Do you have Norway on your list?
Norway's on my list. Norway hits number 3 on my list.
Really?
We're moving up.
Okay. I mean, at least they match. But for me, Norway's another one of those places that's iconically winter, right?
Mm-hmm.
We spent a nice January weekend up in Bergen one year, and that was, I can't tell you how wintry that was. You take the Flowbonnen and you go up the mountain, and before you go, you need to buy a little butt toboggan. And the reason I say it's a butt toboggan is because really the whole thing is not more than 2 feet long about.
Yeah.
And just enough for you to hold onto a handle and put it under your butt and slide all the way down that mountain. But before you slide down the mountain, have a hot drink and you look at the beautiful lights of the city because it overlooks. It's just gorgeous. Just everything about it is gorgeous. Plus, they have so many good hot drinks. One thing that I've never seen anywhere else but in Norway that I really, really love is a lot of the hotels will provide dinner for you.
Oh, yeah.
Because Norway is super, super pricey.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice that you can go out to eat during the day, you can go have coffees and things like that. But at least in the evening, if you're tired, you can take a nice hot bath. I've never been in a hotel room without a bath there. So I think that's another thing that's pretty ubiquitous. I'm not sure. And that was great because then, after all that hiking and stuff, to take a nice hot bath when it's so cold out makes a difference. And then just go downstairs and not even have to leave and have a free meal. Well worth it.
Well, yeah. Bergen specifically in Norway was my number 3 for all the things you said. But it's also a UNESCO World Heritage City.
Mm-hmm.
The old town is the old Hanseatic League is remarkably well maintained and still in beautiful shape with the old wooden offices and fishing factories, and it's just a super cool place to walk around.
And I must say that's one of the main reasons we went, because Jim loves everything Hanseatic.
Yes.
Why is that, Jim?
Well, it's just a fascinating part of history.
It's a fascinating time in history, but you played a game or something. What was it?
My favorite computer game, is based on the Hanseatic League. It's called Patron. No, that's a tequila.
That's a drink. I know what that is.
It's an old game and they have not continued it. And so it's hard to find it anymore. But basically, you are a young person starting out with your one little boat and a little bit of money, and you're building up your trade empire around the Baltic.
Does it still exist?
It still exists. It's a computer game, but it's very old. So you have to probably run it on a simulator of some sort to get it to work.
Anyway,
on a new computer.
So Jim had this sort of nostalgic feeling about going to all the places where the Hanseatic League have been. So we always
and
try
you
to
have
do that.
to admit they're pretty amazing
very cool
places.
No doubt. Absolutely. I'm not going to argue that point. All right. So Now you know my number 5, my number 4, my number 3, Alaska, and my number 2, Japan, because yours was further down. So now we need to do your number 3 and your number 2.
Well, that was my number 3. Bergen was my number 3, Norway.
Oh,
so
okay. That was close.
So we're kind of the same list going, but I didn't have Switzerland. Shall we move on?
Yeah. What is your number? So are you on number 2?
I'm on number 2.
What is?
My number 2 is in Austria. I did try to pick different countries for each of my numbers, so I didn't duplicate a country. But anyway, my number 2 is in Austria. If you are looking for a winter wonderland, ski, sledding, horse-drawn sleighs, carols, all of that really just nostalgic, traditional winter vacation, St. Johann in the Tyrol, or pretty much anywhere in the Tyrol, is going to set you up really nice.
And what Austria has, and maybe a lot of places around the Alps do, they probably do, we've just really done it in Austria. In France, we've done it in France as well, is they have these hotels that you go there for a week, and I think they're considered full board. The only thing you don't get part of your fee is for lunch, because usually you're on the slopes during lunch. But these hotels that do this are right at the base of the ski mountain. So you basically drive there or plane or train there and take a cab to the hotel. You don't really need a car, because the rest of the time you're just at that hotel. You're eating there, you're skiing there, or snowboarding. They have great lifts, and you just basically come down the mountain and go straight to your hotel. And yeah, I mean, I agree. It's nice. Yeah, I love it.
It's pretty high up on my list. That's a pretty great way to spend a week in the snow. And we did that. Like you said, we stayed right in a chalet style hotel right at the base of the slopes. You could ski from the hotel over to the gondola, climb on, ski all day, ski that run down right to the hotel. They also had swimming pools and spas, things for kids to do. Yeah, I'm not usually one for a 1 week all-inclusive vacation like that. However, for that sort of thing, for a ski week, definitely.
Did I have fun? Yeah. Is it on my list? No.
Wow.
Because I just think that we've had because I love winter so much, and I really love doing all kinds of things. And even though Austria is beautiful, both winter and summer, it just didn't quite make my list.
For me, I'll
argue it doesn't beat out anything.
For me, it beats out Switzerland, because the food is better. It's not as expensive.
The food is not better than Switzerland.
In the Alps. Oh, I think it is.
No, you're high.
I'm not. It's not legal here.
No, I know. You're not anyway.
And I went in anyway.
Okay.
So that's my number 2.
So now we're both on number 1, which I have a feeling might be the same number 1, since we haven't mentioned it at all.
It must be. That's amazing. Okay, well, let's kind of work back and lead up to our number 1, just so we.
So my number 5 was Switzerland.
And my number 5 was for rendezvous.
My number 4 was
Alaska.
Yeah, you can't just say for rendezvous.
Was Alaska.
My number 4 was Norway.
And my number 4 was Japan.
My number 3 was Alaska.
My number 3 was Norway.
My number 2 was Japan.
My number 2 was Austria.
And now number 1.
And my number 1.
Let's say it together. 1, 2, 3.
Cappadocia.
Germany.
What? Yeah, Germany is amazing. They've got the Christmas markets and Glühwein and fest foods.
And monasteries like Kreuzberg that you can hike around with a beer in your hand that's made by monks.
Yes.
You've got Garmisch-Partenkirchen, where they have sledding and skiing, and you can go and eat traditional German food at like the Partenkirchen Gasthof Frauendorfer, where they have a Bavarian evening, or you can do that in Berchtesgaden, where they have a Bavarian evening.
Oh yeah, you can do
they
that
have
in a lot of
Disney
places.
Castle inspirational places like Neuschwanstein, Hohenschwangau's right there. So
Well,
there's
and all of those
castles.
things are magical in the snow. There's no lie.
They have Glühwein, and they have delicious winter foods like cooked goose. And during the fall and winter, they have wild meats, which you can't really get a whole lot of other places, like deer or wild pig.
I had Feuerwurst the other day, at a Christmas market, which is just a spicy wurst. It was quite delicious.
So honestly, I can't think of anything better than Germany in winter.
Maybe because of just proximity and it's something we've always done. I didn't really think about it in those terms. But I have to agree. I really do love, especially like the Garmisch-Partenkirchen area in the wintertime in the Alps.
I can't believe
Christmas
you
markets.
didn't have that.
No, I had Cappadocia.
Well, now Cappadocia is magical any time of year.
But especially in the wintertime.
It surprises you in the winter, for sure.
Because you don't really think of Turkey as a winter snow destination. However, when you're in Cappadocia, you're pretty high up in altitude. You're in this kind of in the middle of the country. It is very snowy, and it's not like feet and feet of snow.
And it's also not freezing.
I mean, it's colder than
so
you have
Turkey
snow,
usually is.
but you don't have like freezing weather, which is always nice. That area of the country has always been known for just the friendliness of the locals. They want to share everything with you. But when you go in the wintertime, it's like ramped up 100%.
Because there's not as many tourists.
Yeah, it's the off season.
They're just happy to see you. They're always happy to see you, but they're even more happy to see you in the winter. I agree. It's a great place to go. I mean, no matter what you do, the food is amazing.
You can still get out and hike. You can still explore the different underground cities, the cave churches, everything it's known for.
Yeah.
And you're doing it in the snow, and it's just beautiful.
It is. And if you like Cappadocia and you've been any other time of year, then you might want to try and go in winter. We've got all 4 seasons, and all 4 seasons are magical because it's probably one of our top places in the world to go in general. But I don't think it makes my winter list. I mean, it is cool, but not as
it's
cool
definitely
as
on my
places.
list, and I will fight tooth and nail to keep it somewhere on the list.
I can't believe you made it number 1.
It is number 1 for me.
I don't know where your head is at.
I do love Germany in the wintertime too.
You just what?
Maybe because we've lived here so long. And oftentimes, like you said at the very beginning, a winter vacation, when you live in the winter and it's becoming gray and dreary and you've just had days and days of freezing rain and sleet that you just want to go somewhere warm. And, living in Germany for so long, that's more in my memory of winter time in Germany than like vacation in Germany. Does that make sense?
It is. And really in Germany, there's not many places you can go that you're going to have snow.
That's right.
Too early. I mean, I think your best bet is to go to the Alps. So, and we mentioned the Alps over and over again. We mentioned Austria. We mentioned Switzerland. We didn't mention France, but let me tell you, it's just as magical.
Definitely.
I didn't quite make it my list because of the other ones.
Well, there was that
5
one
is just
time.
not enough, let me tell you.
There was that one time in Chamonix where I almost burned down a restaurant when we were having the cheese fondue, and they served it on a tripod over a Sterno can. And of course, a tripod with 4 people trying to stab bread into melted cheese. It was unstable, and eventually it tipped.
While we're drinking wine, mind you.
Yeah, maybe. That may have been involved.
So it was, luckily, it all turned out okay, and nothing really burnt, and nothing happened, and we did all have to leave the restaurant.
And we had a great time.
They did have to figure it out. And they didn't even hold it against us. It was just really wonderful.
And we had a great time in the French Alps, so it was beautiful.
We did.
It just didn't make my top, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so now we have to come down to what are our top 5 places. Now let's think about the normal tourists. You can't really talk about us because we live in Germany.
Yeah, and I think that colored my perception of Germany. But if I was thinking of, not living here and where I would go for a wintry vacation, definitely Germany would be pretty high up on my list.
And the good thing about Germany is you can come, if you come before Christmas in that part of winter, you've got the Christmas markets. And if you come after winter, you've got all the other stuff.
That's right.
You still have the castles and the snow and all that kind of good stuff.
And of course, the later in the winter, the more snow you're going to have.
Okay. So how many do we have total between the two of us?
Well, we both had Alaska. We both had Japan. We both had Norway.
That's it.
You had Switzerland. I had Austria and Turkey, and you had Germany. So
and
we got
Switzerland.
Switzerland. Didn't I said that though.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's 7 between us. We have to get
So,
down to 5. Cappadocia needs to be on that
No,
list.
Cappadocia is not on the list. It's just
no
not
way.
wintry enough. I don't disagree with you. We had one of the most wonderful times. The thing about Cappadocia, and here's where I think it all falls apart for you, is it's not going to have it's not going to have snow all winter long.
Well,
it's
that's
basically going to
probably
be
true.
cold.
You have
So
to get
you would
lucky
have
with
to
the
get lucky
snowfall.
with that. We got lucky because we knew what we were doing and we lived in the country and it was easier
And we're
for
like,
us.
hey, it's snowing this weekend. Let's go to Cappadocia.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
So that one,
But
it's
still,
off.
everybody, go to Cappadocia. It's
Yeah,
an
go to
amazing place.
The point about Cappadocia is, and you can read all about it on our website, Reflections en Route, is that you can go any time of year and have a blast, and the food is amazing, and the people are amazing. It's just amazing.
It's magical all year.
It is.
Okay, so that gets us down to 6. If I bow to the pressure and I let you take Cappadocia off my
Okay,
list.
I'm going to take Germany off for your reason that we live here, and it's an alpine place.
Yeah.
So I think for the Alps, I personally am going to go for Switzerland over Germany. And Germany was my number 1, by the way.
Yeah.
That's a huge concession right there.
Okay. That was a pretty cool weekend when we did the whole sledding run. And then we went up into another area and
Exactly.
did sledding on ski slopes where you take like the service road from the top of the mountain all the way down on sledges. That was a lot of fun too.
But we also went to Titlis where we went up the cable car and they have a ice walk and they have a
ice cave and
they have cool
great
things
restaurant.
there. Amazing views. So Switzerland can't come off. Switzerland has to be on there. But I think it is kind of a pat place, so it can stay. I don't know. The more I talk about it, the more I want to raise it up. I'm going to move Norway down to number 5.
Wow.
I think Norway's number 5.
Okay.
Even though it's amazing.
I think I can agree with you on that.
Switzerland number 4, Alaska number 3, Japan.
I think
Japan and Alaska are 2 or 3.
I think I would flip Japan up to number 1.
Yeah, Japan is amazing. Okay, Japan should be number 1. I agree with that. Alaska should be number 2. Would you have Alaska?
I had both of those down lower, but after thinking about it and talking about it, Alaska, if you're looking for someplace that is true winter and has like the adventure or explorer spirit, especially if you can get there during February with the Fur Rendezvous.
And speaking about winter sports, you can go right down south of Anchorage, not very long, half an hour, and you're in Girdwood, where you can go to Alyeska Resort and they have skiing there where you can see over the Cook Inlet. I mean, it's beautiful. And they have great rentals there, like with hot tubs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Fireplace.
I think Alaska's got to be way up there. I mean, Northern Lights, come on.
And it's almost guaranteed if you get a clear night.
Okay, so Japan or Alaska, number 1?
I would still put Japan number 1. It's not as frigid cold as Alaska.
That's true.
And the skiing there is also world class, but at the same time, it's not super cold. You're skiing in some really excellent snow conditions, oftentimes massive amounts of powder.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool and not very crowded.
And their winter festival, they have tons of winter festivals. We've been to some really cool ones. A lot of them have like little where you can go have lunch in an igloo and things like that. So much fun.
They do it right.
They really, they're Japanese. They do everything right. When they theme,
they're going to do
theme.
it. They're going to research it and do it the best they can.
But I was talking about the Sapporo Ice Festival because that's a really cool place to go to. And talk about snow sculpture or ice sculptures in Japan. They are building sized.
Oh, yes.
They're huge. They're amazing. Plus, like you said, the ice sculpture competition in January in Matsumoto. You've got Nozawa Onsen and all kinds of ski resorts from basically mid-Japan all the way up northern Japan. I mean, there's so many to choose from. And no matter where you go, you're going to have delicious food and you're going to have great, like you said, skiing and snowboarding.
And you're going to have the upright ski there is go sit in a hot tub. I mean, like a natural spring hot tub. That's just incredible.
It really is an incredible place. Okay, Japan is our number 1. On top of that, you've got snow monkeys. On top of that, you've got amazing sites to go visit.
That's right.
I mean, it's just an amazing place. And I think not enough people go in the winter.
I agree with you. Okay, so
Japan is number 1.
Let me
Alaska's
update
number
my
2.
list so we don't lose track of this. We're saying Japan number 1, Alaska number 2.
Number 3, Switzerland.
Number 3, Switzerland. I didn't have Switzerland on my list. So you know what was almost made my list, but I took it off at the last minute?
What?
With Sweden.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's the same as Norway in a way.
It's very similar. I wouldn't say it's the same, but
it's not the same.
It's got a lot of similarities. You're in the north. You have a good chance of seeing northern lights. We did that really amazing, like drop of the hat.
Yeah.
Let's just go drive up to the ferries and take a ferry to Gothenburg, Sweden.
Yeah, it was really cool. And of course, they have saunas, which they're very famous for.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a bunch of island hopping on the free ferries. It was pretty amazing.
Okay, so Switzerland, number 3. Number 4 is Norway.
Mm-hmm.
You know what we didn't mention in Norway, and I'm getting a little hungry. But in Bergen, there's this little hot dog stand.
Oh, yeah.
Called, what was it called? Tre Kronerin, something like that. 3 Kings.
But it's one of the most famous things to do.
They've got amazing hot dogs. They've got lamb, hot chili, reindeer, wild game. You name it. If it comes in a hot dog form, they've got it.
And so good. And it warms you up.
Norway's number 4. Number 5 is?
5 should be Germany/Austria right there on the border. How's that? That's cheating, but whatever.
That's cheating. We probably piss off a lot of Austrians and Germans with that answer. But yeah, you can't go wrong with the Garmisch-Partenkirchen area or the Tyrol area. And it may be a matter of like what you can find available when you're trying to book.
That's true. Both of them have amazing sights to see. Great drinks, great food, great Gemütlichkeit, comfortable feeling.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 5, we say the German Alps, Austrian Alps / 4 is Norway, Bergen. 3.
I think we're going to try and go back to Norway this winter.
Yeah, I think we will too.
I would like to go even more north.
Yes. 3 is Switzerland, the Swiss Alps. You can't beat that in the wintertime. And number 2 is Alaska, especially if you can get to Anchorage during Fur Ronde. And number 1, Japan.
I agree. Okay. We got it. Boom.
We got it. Regardless of which one you choose, you're going to have an excellent winter vacation at any of those places.
If you guys have some ideas on winter vacations that feel like winter, tell us in the comments. Like, we're really interested to know.
Yeah. And if we've really hit the mark, or let us know that. And if we really missed the mark, let us know that too. All right. Thanks for listening to this episode of Streets and Eats. If you liked what you heard, please show us some love, hit the like button, and leave us a review. Maybe even subscribe so you don't miss any future podcasts. Also, we'd love it if you joined us on our Facebook private group, Streets and Eats, where we just have an ongoing conversation about all things travel. Ciao for now.